Food systems, agriculture, and health, the nexus in the context of climate change, in which the experts will take us on a journey exploring the intricate connections between food production, agricultural practices, and public health amidst a changing climate. Now, let's give a warm welcome to our moderator. Please welcome Daniel Wagner, Chief Commercial Officer of Otolith Labs Inc., and our esteemed panelists. Come on up, guys. Happy to have you.
Right behind you. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Excellent. Up. Good morning. It's so great to be with you today. Up, and we're going to get a photo real quick.
Yes.
Excuse me. Let me invite our
We
esteemed
gotta wait till
panelists. We've
Manny
got Dr. Barry Leckman joining us here. Quick photo. Let's get
We have an uneven.
excellent.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Oh, excellent. Please grab a seat. Yep. Samyata, why don't you sit next to me? Excellent. Well, good morning and welcome. Today we're going to talk about food systems, agriculture, health, the nexus in the context of climate change. Very, very important topic as we have here. We've got a great panel for you all. So let me introduce, first and foremost, Samyata Saxena, who's joining us. She is founder and CEO of Garden Recipe and the Garden Pooch. So welcome. And as I introduce you, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing within your communities and the tasks that you've taken on?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited. I would say a little bit about my personal journey, just to give you insight of how I launched the garden recipe. I used to work in cancer research in the top institute, Methodist Research Institute in oncology, and I was part of clinical trials and data analysts and whatnot. So I had some publications in NIH and PubMed with clinical trials. Then we moved to UD oncology, same thing. But I didn't like the side of cancer where we have chemo and radiation because I would observe these cancer patients coming in looking very healthy when they would come before the chemo and after getting the drugs and clinical trials and being on the chemo and radiation, it would just completely make them look like, skeletons, losing their, healthy bodies. And what happened? We're supposed to treat these patients, make them feel alive and make them have life, and yet they're not feeling that way or looking that way, and their loved ones are, going in depth, just praying for this system. So then I did quit my job because I could not take it anymore. And universe would have it or God would have it. I got cancer. So I got ovarian cancer, which is pretty bad. But I made a decision because I am from India, so I was lucky in a way. My grandparents, my beloved grandma, she raised me with completely pure vegetarian, homemade, fresh food, good old values and whatnot. So I remember that, and I was very healthy, and coming to America and then getting cancer. So then I already knew the conventional side of cancer, the chemo, radiation, drugs, clinical trials, the corruption of the pharmaceutical industry. I was aware of it. So I was clear when I got cancer, no matter how it was, I knew my body was just trying to heal itself. It's not trying to die. And I was going to follow my body's wisdom instead of letting someone define to me what needs to be done or that I need to go and have chemo or something. So I let it grow. And then I knew it would let me know when the time has come, I need to go to the hospital. And that's exactly what happened. It grew. I had swelling in my leg, and then I just said, okay, this is time to go for a surgery. So I was going to surgery. I had a surgery. Within 6 days, we were out. We left on seventh day, and the doctors wanted me to do chemo and radiation. The doctor even said, this is better. The doctor even said, you're not going to make it after 5 years. You may not live if you don't do chemotherapy and radiation. We need to put some drugs. And I said, we will see. So that was it. That was the end of it. I never went back to any checkups, like nothing, nothing. After the surgery, I just came home, started cooking what my grandparents had taught me, my grandma had taught me, going back to the Indian roots, Ayurvedic roots, and cooking with a lot of spices and seeds and herbs, and also incorporating a lot of what I've learned in America about nutrition, because there's one side of America which is really unhealthy, and then there's the other side which is really healthy, and the plant-based movement is really rapidly growing. And I have learned so much from this country when it comes to nutrition. It is not true that America is only, obese and sick. It's not true. America is full of resilience and people living to 120 and and fighting against the odds and making it possible. So I combined both the knowledge and then just started cooking and my body came into balance. The doctors had told me because I'm a female and I had ovarian cancer, they had told me you will not have, after the surgery, you won't have your periods for 8 months. And I said, we will see about it. I got my periods back in 2 months. And I wanted to address this because there are a lot of women watching this and they don't have hope and don't have to listen to the doctor. The answer is just in your kitchen. And by God's grace, this May, I'm going to be 10 years cancer free. So that's how I launched my business. Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So that's how I launched my business because my passion was why do Americans have to sell their mortgages and sell their soul and compromise their loved ones too for treatment for cancer? Like they need to learn the truth. And this is such a the corruption has taken over so much in America thanks to Rockefellers. We all know the history of this country. There was a time when this country was phenomenally herb based on herbalism and things like that until it all changed. So why we are not going back to the truth? And then I launched my website, designed it myself because I didn't have much money. So I designed it and I said, I need to teach people how to cook these recipes if it's working for me, because you can have all the surgery in the world. Until you fix the machinery that has gone wrong, nothing matters. You're going to go back to the surgery room again and again and again. It's going to come back. So that needs to be fixed. And that the answer is in nutrition and your lifestyle habits, daily habits. So I launched the garden recipe and my organization started providing people with YouTube recipes so people can cook and website. And this is how it came to be. I'll talk more about
Oh, that's tremendous. And what a compelling story to kick us off here. That
yeah.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing your journey. I think that's very, very important.
Mhm.
Next on our panel, we also have Carrie Ike, who joins us. Carrie is an educator and founder of Be Well Gardens. Welcome, Carrie.
Thanks for having me. I am, I'm not in healthcare. I'm in wellness care, I guess, as a teacher. I've been a high school teacher in Los Angeles for over 20 years at a public school in West Los Angeles. Um, my journey around shifting students' health really came from watching them come in with bags of chips. Hot Cheeto revolution came around, and that was their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's still my kids still come in with chips often into the classroom, and we encourage them to put it away. But it is something that has really motivated me around what else can I do? And I really believe, I consider myself a whole health educator. And I knew that I was not going to help kids change the way they saw food through a classroom. It really needed to be a hands-on experience. Um, our school is on a fault line, and so they'd just taken down a bunch of buildings on our campus. And so we were walking through with a contractor, and he wanted a contract to maintain some trees and some shrubbery that had nothing to do with education. And so I walked through with my principal and I said, I think I kind of want this hillside over here for the food forest, and this is going to be the garden. He was going to give us a garden about the size of one panel up here and think that was going to be great for 2,400 students. And I kind of shook my head going, that's not going to work for us. I didn't have a background. I'm from Iowa, but I didn't have a background in growing food. Um, I'm a flexitarian. I'm not like full on veg or vegan, and so but I wanted to learn. And so most of the actions that I've taken over the last 20 years have been learning by doing, learning by breaking things and trying to fix them. I would hang out in the aisles at Home Depot because I didn't want to talk to anybody at 10 o'clock at night, trying to figure out how to fix irrigation that was broken. Because another thing that happens in schools is that you have all these contracts and you can't really work with anybody unless they're under contract. So everything that we've done at our school and over the acre of land that we put together for our students has been done by the students and myself and maybe some college kids or some parents. So I'm here to sort of talk about, what you can do with next to nothing, but a lot of willpower. So
Oh, that's
thanks.
that's tremendous, Carrie, and welcome.
Thanks.
Next on our panel, we have Kinjal Patel. Kinjal is owner and CEO and influencer who founded Swasti. So, Kinjal, welcome.
Thank you. I want to start out with saying thank you to Health 2.0. Last year, I have attended virtually, and this year, I'm a speaker of one of the panel discussion. So there is a big jump right there. but I do want to say thank you for picking me as a speaker. Um, my name is Kinjal Patel. I am founder and CEO of swasthya by Kinjal.com. Swasthya means health and wellness. So my journey started right after the pregnancy. I have gained so much weight and I wanted to lose it, and also suffering from gas, acidity, heartburn, lower back, joint problems, and you name it, and everything. And also uh, could not eat fatty food, fried food, and sweets, and all the junk and all that. So I was like, what am I going to eat now? So um, I pushed myself to go vegan, and it took me a while. I was going back and forth and all that, but I didn't want to force myself. I don't understand why people say I became vegan overnight. I don't know how much truth in that, but it took me a year to become a vegan fully. So I started to share my story to my age group people, and they were like, they didn't believe me, and they were like, oh, I don't care, whatever, let's see how long you live your dream. So they were like, what do you eat? What do you make? So I started to uh, wanted to tell them a lot, but they were not listening. So I was like, why don't I just show it to them how to do it? So I came up with this idea to have my own channel on social media. Started out on TikTok and showing people how to make vegan food, and you can still live and heal from within. And so from that point on, I started doing other social medias, Insta, YouTube, everywhere. So people, every day I post 4 new recipes, and so people started to like, share, and comment, and started to follow me and all that. So they started to take me seriously. So whichever the recipes were um, become famous, I wrote a book and start selling that. So ever since that point of my life, I've been showing and sharing, and it's been more than 600 recipes that I have shared for free for people to just take the education and knowledge for free. So from that point on, I wanted to talk about like how did I lose my weight and came back to it. So I want to empower women on self-care, self respect, get back in shape, and um, think about your own goals and dreams, and instead of just focusing on kids and husband and taking care of the kitchen, why can't you focus on your own? I was nothing, and look at me, I became this and that. So if I can do it, you can do it, and you can also come out from your problems after the pregnancy. You don't have to suffer it. So things like that. So I came up with the another social media channel on that. I have another Instagram on that, and from that point on, I decided to have my own website and my own app on how to lose weight and get back in shape and all of that. So I have done all of that, and then I started to join vegan group from the community, from the Facebook and whoever is in my community around the New Jersey area, and I became a committee member of World Vegan Vision. So we do spread a lot of knowledge on how to turn your life into veganism and what is the importance of it and how to come out from diseases and live free. Uh, so I did all of that, and here I am today,
Yay.
and still pushing forward the veganism.
Excellent. Well, Kinjal, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here with us on this esteemed panel.
Mhm.
And last but certainly not least, Dr. Barry Lockman. Barry is President and CEO of Lockman Community Development and Consulting. Welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here. This is my third Health 2.0 conference, and different topics each year. And I've had about a 50-year career in health services to underserved and marginalized populations in the United States. Along the way, I'm a pretty much a political activist. I've also think that I'm innovative and have developed a number of innovative programs. So my up till about 3 years ago, for about 30 years, I was involved in Medicaid managed care, always with provider-owned HMOs. And the last 19 years at Parkland Hospital in Dallas. Parkland is the public hospital in Dallas, and we had a health plan with about 200,000 lives. I'm a pediatrician, so there's a special gift in the state giving you about $150 a month, and you determine how to spend it on the health care of children. Now, there are rules, but you have a lot of flexibility. And so along the way, I began to realize the role of what are called social determinants of health or social drivers of health and how they were affecting healthcare. I started working with affordable housing and the condition there, but then met a gentleman, Peter Johnson, who was had worked for Martin Luther King Jr. And Peter said to me, "What about food security? That's a bigger problem." So I started working there. Can we tee up the slides? Because I want to take you through a journey to look at food security.
Give us a second. I think they're queuing up now.
Okay.
Why don't you start taking us through just the story?
Okay. So Peter pointed out to me that in the surveys, that in what we're hearing from the communities themselves, and I had had a history in community organization where I'm a trained community organizer trained by the Industrial Areas Foundation. I'd been involved in efforts to get legislation on behalf of communities to fight problems in inner city rental housing with indoor air environments. So that kind of led me into an environmental area. I'm now on the Health Commission for the City of Dallas, and I'm the co-chair of their health committee. And food security and urban gardening is part of our plan to address disparities in health. And what Peter pointed out to me is we had a very large number of churches in South Dallas in the inner city area, and that many of them had land which could be converted into urban agriculture and urban gardens. So he and I worked with about 5 churches and we developed those gardens. Then the Jewish temple that I'm a member of decided to develop a garden. We developed a small garden with about 12 beds, and we incorporated the whole idea of nutrition into the religious school curriculum as part of that. We then got a USDA grant last April, expand to 64 beds. We can grow with those 60, and I recruited in some people that I had met who are experts on growing efficiency from Texas A&M and a wonderful company called Restorative Gardens. And we now have 64 beds. We can grow 13,000 pounds of produce a year. Let me run through the slides while we've got them up here. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the interoperability. That's tomorrow's. Anyway,
Barry, why don't we go through just quickly the story and we'll dive into some questions.
yeah, we'll drive into some of the stuff with questions. So anyway, so we began developing the garden. Go forward a couple of slides, please. We'll slip through the equity slides. Next one, please. Next one. Next one. This runs through the history, and I've provided anybody who wants it. Next one. Next one. Okay. Next. Child obesity trends. Next one. This is the one that really counts. 1 in 6 people in Texas. And look at the map of food. Look at the map on the next one of where the food deserts are. Next. All right. Notice how much they're in the southern part of Dallas. And in the next one, notice how transportation affects those. Okay. It's dramatic. Those areas, 75216, which is in the middle of that area, has the second lowest life expectancy for an African American male of any zip code in the United States. It is 32 years less than 3 miles north in the affluent northern part of Dallas. It is the worst zip code on about every health measure you can have, including food insecurity. Okay, so we developed the garden. We're in the middle of developing our plans. We have another wonderful organization that's called Four Down. What they did is they realized, and this is one of the challenges, you have this garden, this one has too much okra, this one has too much beans. What do you do about it? The guy who started it bought a refrigerated warehouse so we can now distribute food between the gardens, and his hobby is skating. So he has an inline skating park. And as a part of that, he gets 250 to 300 young people in out and gets them to volunteer in his warehouse. So anyway, I'm along the journey of really working broadly. The final point that I want to make is that food programs which hand out food don't do any good because they don't teach people how to grow. Teaching people how to grow or how to use what you give them. So you have to do that. And that has to be, to some of the points that you've heard, it has to be culturally content, fit with the culture. So developing those programs to do that is very important. And the other thing we're doing is the place that I belong religiously is in the affluent part of Fort North Dallas. We have the Great Wall of China, I call it, in Dallas. It's called the Trinity River. I have friends who have lived in North Dallas for 40 years. They'd never been out to dinner in South Dallas. We took them. So we've got that. My latest thing is it's sort of like the story of the Exodus, and we need a Moses to help us to cross the Trinity.
Wow. Well, Barry, thanks so much, and so great to have you all here. Welcome. So, with this such a great panel and such diverse experiences, from personalized experiences to stakeholders ranging from school to government community, with each of you, what do you say would be the number one challenge in addressing food agriculture insecurity with the stakeholders you talk to, whether they be individuals, students, or government? What are those challenges in communicating with them? Please, you want us to kick us off?
So, my when my business launch was just a website, so that means I'm just inviting people to find me through the website from all over the world and, enroll in the newsletter. And I developed it over the years from providing whole food, plant-based, vegan recipes, supplementing it with YouTube videos to teach people how to cook if they are just new beginners, so that nobody can, feel that they cannot cook. And then health-based articles and launching the sections on spirituality, because as somebody who's been in cancer industry and a cancer survivor and somebody who's really passionate about telling people how to heal their bodies. I was, you cannot heal just by one aspect of it, by vegan food, for example. So I wanted to tell them it is a little bit more like spirituality, mindfulness, and how you eat and how much you eat and whatnot. So I launched the spirituality section, and then I also launched sex and intimacy, because a lot of us, most of us on this earth, are walking with sexual trauma in our beings, and until we heal our mental, emotional, and sexual trauma and pain that we have gone through in our childhood, through our life journey, we cannot heal. It's going to just rise back again. It's going to be temporary. So, with that said, most of the people that come to my business, they find it, and they are really either the type who already know a lot about this movement of vegan, plant-based health, environment factors, and they just want to continue on the journey. So they will. Some people come because there's a big group of cancer survivors or cancer patients, and they are like, I'm tired of the doctors. It's not working, or I have a loved one, a spouse, or a child who has cancer, and I found your website, so I'm really thankful for it. And so they want to learn because they have tried every venue from the conventional side, and now their heart is open and they are just tired and they're ready to go. Or the third people are who do not know anything and they are just coming and saying, you know what, I have no idea, but I have not been to the doctors. I just want to improve my health. I just feel fatigue. I feel chronic tiredness. What do I do? Where do I start? Okay, start with the recipes. So generally, when people are at that stage, you don't have to convince them. The problem comes when you try to convince somebody who's not exhausted from the conventional system or who is too rigid, and their mind and heart is too close to listen. And that would be, in reality, my family members and relatives. We all have been there. So, from my journey, the only thing I can tell you is somebody who has been in medical field one way or the other from the beginning, and who has seen, when I was in cancer research in Methodist Research Institute, we had clinical trials running by big pharmaceutical companies, and patients would come for, especially like men would come for prostate cancer. We had prostate and kidney cancer that we were seeing predominantly, and then of course we would have bladder and breast and other cancers. But these patients, the first point they would meet me, because we had a 22-page questionnaire in the cancer research. And since I was a biostatistician, it was my duty to make sure the data that's coming in is good, because that's the data we're going to use for analytical studies. So, this is a reality. And if you go to the Methodist Research Institute, Methodist building, at the bottom of it, there are restaurants, okay? And this restaurant was served this really fatty turkey sandwich loaded with a lot of frying buns and dairy filled mayonnaise and whatnot. And so, guess what? So, we have cancer patients coming here at stage 3, stage 4, really desperate, and their spouses looking stressed out. I'm going to lose my loved one. They're going for the treatments. Where are they going next? Eat. So, where are they going? They're going to eat that burger. And that burger is probably one of the most toxic foods on this earth, if that I've seen. Okay. So, if the hospitals are like this, who is anybody to convince them? They have to rise up and convince themselves. And we would have in a cancer questionnaire asking people, how much meat do you eat? And we would even tell them that stop eating red meat. At least at the time it had progressed enough in the conventional arena that doctors would tell people stop eating red meat and start eating more veggies. And if you must eat some white meat. Okay. But still the patients and their families are hanging out there eating the worst things. And if you were to tell them, please don't eat that, go vegan, are they going to go? No, they're not going to do it, because I have been there where I've had to talk to those patients and tell them or things like that, and they're not going to do this. So when somebody is close minded, you have to let their journey begin on their own. You cannot open it. And this summarizes my family and relatives. Trust me, you cannot convince them. Those who are exhausted from the system are the ones whose, those barriers have fallen away. They are ready to enter the door. The door to freedom, the door to personal empowerment, the door to cooking the recipes, the door to doing what it needs to be done. And those who are already in the journey, they already know. They just want to learn more. So that is just much I would say. Focus your gifts of teaching to those whose mind and heart is open and who are tired of the conventional system, and they will find you. They will come to you because they know the conventional system is failing. The doctors, I have worked with the top doctors and manuscripts and big drugs and whatnot. And trust me, these doctors, they are as unhealthy as the patients they care for. Okay, these doctors were extremely obese. They were eating the most sick diet. I have been in meetings with these doctors for 6, 7, 8 hours. The cancer research meetings run forever, and I've seen what they eat. So this is not an opinion, this is fact based. Okay, the doctor I worked for was actually really great. He was a vegan. So with him being an exception, all the other doctors, and we were working with Methodist, UT, Baylor, all the networking doctors at the same time. So if the doctor is like this, the patient doesn't have an awareness, we are already doomed. Okay, the doctor have to have awareness and say, look, you are a cancer patient. Even before you try the chemo and this drug that you think is miracle, no, first go home, tell me what is in your kitchen, clear out everything, come back to me tomorrow when you have bought all the plant-based foods from the produce aisle, the colors of rainbow, and then you come to me and then we start the treatment. At least start there. But until the system changes, we are all doomed. So let those people who are open-minded come to you, and those who are not, wait for them. That's it.
No, then I think that's a great place to start, right? Which is start where there's fertile ground that is ready to receive the seed of the education. Other challenges for different stakeholders from the
Well,
panel?
I think that it's really hard to get kids to change their diet and to start thinking about plant-based diets. I in gardens, I started off when we first started gardening, we did body systems gardens, tying it back into health. And so they'd learn about a body system and they'd have to grow food that would support that body system and learn the connections between food and health. And then they designed websites for it. And my students design a lot of really great tools, advertisements. Right now, they're designing advertisements for plants. And if they get somebody to post their advertisement about plants online, I'll give them more community service. So if anybody wants to connect with my students and some more information, well, we're happy to share. But for me specifically, I do the veggie burger challenge, and this is an idea I came up with a few years ago. Where how do I get my kids to eat a plant-based burger? Well, we start off, we learn about how eating red meat, 70% or more of our red meat is coming from or being grazed on lands that has caused clear cutting of the rainforest. Almost all of our meats that we're getting at the grocery store, unless it's a local origin or even grass-fed meat in some points, they're finished off in the United States, but they have been raised in another country that has affected their local ecosystem to get to our plate. And there's a huge disconnect between where our food comes from, and most of it is because it's sort of we don't really understand all the processes, and it's not labeled very well. And so in the veggie burger challenge, my students learn about that. They understand. They do a little research on how food connects to health, and then they get to design their own veggie burger. We do some research on veggie burgers. We don't use any nuts. We use seeds. We use all kinds of vegetables. Um, and grains, and they build it out, and then we do like a whole kind of like an auction, like who's got the most nutrients in their burger. We use Chronometer, which is a free nutrition app. We plug it all in, and it gives us plug in our recipes, it gives us all of our vitamins and minerals. And then in a 100-gram burger, let's see who's got the most vitamin B, or who's got B1, who's got B2, who's got vitamin K. And then if their name gets on the board because they have the most vitamins in their burger, they get to then call out their recipe, and then we get to talk about what are the rock stars in their recipe that are giving them that kind of nutrient density. Then the next day we make them, and they make their burger themselves. I have about 50 ingredients that I prep. It's about a $200-300 lab that I put together for my students, and then we grill them and eat them together as a class. And that this year, probably 90% of the students ate their burger and enjoyed it. One kid was like, Miss Ike, you are just pulling our leg. There's got to be meat in here. They can't believe that a veggie burger tastes this good. And when you get an opportunity to experience and handle something that you really didn't think was tangible that you would ever eat, it sort of helps facilitate that. But changing habits in people is really hard, and unless it's fun and exciting, it's really tricky to facilitate and be a good experience.
That's great. I would love to join that class. I mean, it sounds exciting, and you go from the reward of putting the right components together to the hands-on of actually doing it. I think that's tremendously impactful. Other challenges in dealing with different stakeholders from the panel?
I'm not sure about the stakeholders. I have not been there that much out there, but I can talk about whatever I am suffering right now, according to how to spread more veganism and how many people will take it seriously and how many people will turn into veganism. So I have done my part, that sharing my story, making videos, making website and app and blah blah blah, did everything, and talking about it and putting posts and spreading awareness every single day. So the question is, what is the outcome and what is the results? How many people are listening or doing anything about it? So I came to realize that without having any problems or suffering a problem, people will not listen. So I cannot ask God to give them a problem. But that is the bottom line that I have seen so far, or whoever is uh, surrounded by their parents' serious diseases or the chronic diseases, because they talk about that kind of lifestyle every single day. So they are surrounded by it. So they take it seriously. So other than that, how can we force people to go vegan, or we cannot tell them or give them a lollipop, hey, you take this and we will give you free food, or here's the free lunch, show up at the next meeting, or things like that. So you cannot do any of that. So I was like, where can I find an answer for that? So I went to the World Vegan Vision and became a committee member there, and I was listening to what is their outcome and what they are finding, and all these talks and seminars and blah 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 and parties and festivals and um, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all of that. But how many people are following, or how many people are turning into vegan? So I didn't quite find that answer there. So I started to think about it, and I came to realize that only by spreading or talking about veganism will not cut it, and people will not listen, or they will not turn, or they will not be healed completely. So the answer is self engineering, which means learning about yourself by self loving, giving respect, and yoga, meditation, mindfulness, all of that plays a role in spirituality. Without it, I don't think you will learn to love yourself and spread the love or healing others. So, along with veganism, we all need to have self discipline among doing exercise every day and listening to your body more. So, I just gave them more work. So, they were like, they're not following veganism. You're talking about self engineering, how they're going to do it. I was like, I don't know, but let's push it. Let's see what happens. So, I don't know what will happen, but we're at that point right now.
That's such a beautiful message, to take care of the inward to affect outward.
How do we,
It's such so beautiful. And Barry, how about your stakeholders?
Yeah, and I want to be brief because I want to allow you all time to ask questions if you want to. So I've highlighted some of the issues with access, and it should be obvious from the transportation side. Some of the issues. We have people who can't afford healthy foods. We have people who can't get access because there are no supermarkets. We have people with transportation. So the barriers are designing programs that address those issues and deal with more than just supplying food. The other thing is on the behavioral side that's very important is people have learned habits that are very hard to break, and lecturing at them, telling them it does not do it. You need to involve them and start where they are. I spent a year early on in my education learning at a time before it became popular, understanding the science of behavioral change. I'd recommend to you the book Nudge, which deals with how the work that has come out of Harvard related to how you produce change by helping people to do the right thing by starting where they are, not where you want them to be. And that means if you're doing what I do as a physician, you have to understand the population of the people you're dealing with. And many of the people I've made my career in, they look differently than I am. They come from different backgrounds. If I want to serve them, I have to understand them and not, rather than blaming, meet them where they are to start.
Oh, what a foundational message. Thank you so much, Barry. Real quick, before we jump into conclusions from this wonderful panel, are there any questions from the audience as it pertains to food, agricultural needs, and community? Yes, sir. Do we have a microphone? All right, just go for it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a really good point. We when my students do a small business where they include food from their garden and they all have to pass the food safety test, and we go through all of that. And I'm like, you wouldn't want to go into a restaurant in California, we have like A, B, C, D. You wouldn't want to go into a restaurant that has like a C rating. So if you don't get 100% or 90% or better on this test, you're not making food, and we're only making it for the teachers. But a lot of times, those conversations, there are a lot of nuanced conversations with kids about, well, what are you bringing for lunch today? How long has it been in your backpack? What are you putting in the microwave? And how to then take food home and take care of it well. When's the last time you cleaned out your refrigerator? That's an assignment I give my students, looking at what's in the refrigerator. And my grandparents got sick in their 90s from foodborne illness, and in 5 days my grandfather was gone. And he was 91. My grandmother was 93. After 3 months, she finally got better and lived to her 98. But it is something that's very close to my heart, and I think it's something that we don't really talk about. And there's over 48 million people that get sick a year from foodborne illness, and that with climate change and the challenges on our food system, that those challenges are going to continue to rise. And so it's really important to understand, how do we keep food safe for our families and for our friends and those that we want to share food with. Especially potlucks are one place that people get sick a lot. So thanks for that question.
Great point. Any further guidelines from your organizations on food health, safety, and storage?
We've really relied very much on. We have a great thing because Texas A&M has a great program on urban agriculture and lots of scientists who can help us with those questions. And so we've learned to rely on the expertise and how we translate that, and then talking to people in our communities and hearing what challenges they face to help them through those things. That takes a little bit of creativity, but it can be done.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're just at time. So before we conclude this wonderful panel, I'd love to hear from each of you just one thing for our audience today to take home that impacts their access to food, agriculture, and their health.
From my perspective, again, from cancer and diseases, I would just say, when you eat, think about the consequences of one plate. Just one plate of food makes a big difference, whether it is eating beef, pork, chicken, and the amount of water and resources wasted for that, and deforestation and soil erosion. 1 pound of beef requires 1900 gallons of water. Okay, so that steak might be juicy, but think of the consequences, because you are taking part in world hunger, creating soil erosion, and destroying rainforest, water contamination as well. 1 pound of pork requires 700 gallons of water. 1 pound of chicken that you eat, of course, how can we not eat chicken masala and these things? 1 pound of chicken that people eat, just 1 pound requires 500 gallons of water. Okay, so please be mindful, because somewhere somebody is losing their food, their crops, they're going hungry. We all are connected globally through earth, air, water. All of us are connected. So if you really care about world hunger, you care about the climate change, the greenhouse gases, you care about the health for yourself, your family, your neighbors, your pets, your dogs. My second organization is based on dogs. Then please be mindful. Each plate makes a difference, and we consumers have the power now. We are the ones driving the trend and saying no to plastic, no to meat industry. We are saying no, we cannot take this. We have changed the narrative around it, where we have so much demand for the plant-based milk that they're out of shelf. This is a great time to see in history. We have reached that stage. It's people like us driving that change, and it's people as we are doing this with our purchasing power. So please, think carefully. And as on a personal note, I would just say this: if anyone's looking for vegan recipes or need holistic healing that embodies spirituality, healing from mental, emotional, sexual trauma, please check out my website, thegardenrecipe.com, and that's where you will find me. And also, my other organization is for dogs, for cancer healing and prevention for dogs. It is thegardenpooch.com. So that's my passion. I rescue dogs, by the way. I rescue dogs.
No, that's excellent.
So
Conclusions,
for me,
Carrie?
I just think, I know I need to be brief, but get rid of the coulds, woulds, and shoulds in your life, and think about what you can do, what you will do, what you are doing. Because there's a lot of guilt in climate, and all the things that are happening around us all the time. And like, what is just my action today? Just think about one thing that you're willing to do. And then the last thing is many hands make light work. I'm an educator. I work in a silo. I don't have very many people from healthcare reaching out to me. I'm connected to UCLA, but I reach out to professors and I don't always get a response back. And I manage 170 students a day and in 6 hours of time and with everything else. And so we have all kinds of things. Like if you could give us a challenge to motivate our students or a project and challenge a community near you, challenge some students near you to work on a project that you need for your patients or a calendar you want to put out. We want to do the work. We want to make the work that students are doing meaningful, and we want to share that. We just need people to share it with. And if you're interested in any of our ideas, you can come and visit me at bewellgardens.org. That's my own personal website that I'm working on to share with families and communities.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And Kinjal?
Yeah, so I want to just point out you are what you eat, health desires, healthy cooking meals. In order to spread healing energy, it begins from you. You have to heal from within in order to spread uh, the healing process to your friends and family, your colleagues, and society, community, and so on and so forth. So again, it begins from you. The climate change, food system, air pollution, environment problems, um, the animal welfare, and all of that, all of those major issues that we are suffering right now, they're all connected with each other. We are all part of the universe and we are connected to each other, even if we are not same looking or not speaking the same language or whatever you want to put it. So we are all part of the mother nature. So we do all need to participate um, from within or from outside or whatever that we can. Because if we do not do it, then the next generation will suffer. And if you can't give up on meat, then believe me, you will end up with a mental problem later on in your life. Because as I can see it so far, the next pandemic will be a mental problems. I can see it, and it's spreading like crazy, and it's everywhere, not only in this country, everywhere. So it's a part of the family dynamic right now going on. At least one person in every single family, I do see a mental problem. They don't want to assure it or they don't want to believe it, but when they reach to that point, they will find out more about it. So, on the mental problem, please take it seriously because that can uh, arise many more problems. So please take it seriously, be part of it, and take your responsibility to give it back to the Mother Nature and think about your next grandkids. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kinjal. And Barry?
Yes, if you really want to help people meet them where they are and help them produce the changes and the things that are important to them, the next set of priorities they pick may well be the ones you thought were important. But if you don't start where they are, you're just lecturing at them. You're fostering paternalism, colonialism, and all the awful things. If you meet people where they are, then you have the opportunity to work with them, not at them. And working with people is the way to produce lasting change.
Tremendous. Well, once again, please join me in thanking this terrific panel this morning. Thank you all for joining us.